Hey everybody, how's it going? Tonight's video is going to be a late one, and I wanted to do something a little bit more different in terms of the content. We're going to get into the forbidden. We're going to get into some thoughts that I usually don't talk about on the channel, so I figured, you know what? I'm feeling kind of macabre and a bit open tonight. Now that I see the leaves changing. Fall is upon us, so I figured, the next fun holiday is going to be Halloween, so I'm very excited. From now until Halloween, I just get, nostalgic. I have fun. I like to be a little bit more silly than usual, but it's just kind of appropriate for me. So, which also means the changing content a little bit more on the darker side of things. So I just wanted to talk about something random that I usually don't talk about on my channel, is my problem with modern day Satanism. Now, Satanism is a misunderstood philosophy. It has been in the minds of the Western individuals for quite a long time. And there's a lot of superstition that goes along with this. So I'm not going to get into the history of Satanism, because there is, I think, something rich about it. And I'm not here to point to any particular politician that I would claim to be a Satanist. As a matter of fact, I highly doubt that these guys are Satanists, because by the definitions that we understand Satanism, or those on the left-hand path, will not see politicians in the same vein. I'm not here to confirm, deny, or even prove. As a matter of fact, I don't know what the politicians of Canada really believe in terms of the esoteric, or even lack of. You don't know what it is that they practice behind closed doors, so I'm not going to assume anything. Even if they were, quote-unquote, Satanists and Luciferians or whatever, I wouldn't give two fucking shits. Any person that wants to impose on my will and my rights, I have a fucking issue with that, regardless of your religion, creed, race, or whatever the fuck. At that point, to me, a threat is a fucking threat. And my natural inclination is to destroy and devour and consume the very thing that's in my path, so I can maximize my liberty. But that's neither here nor there. So today's issue with Satanism is a little bit of the misunderstanding and, the optics of it. And this is probably going to be an issue until the end of time, really, or at least until the end of my time, physically speaking. And I've noticed this ever since I was young. I never understood the superstition behind Satanism, why people were so quick to judge it. And even though I was young, I didn't have much experience or exposure to it. I heard a lot of things during the 90s about the Satanic Panic, and it wasn't really clear to me or explained to me that there was definitely a fake aspect, propaganda behind it, and why people conflated Lucifer and Satan together, used interchangeably, when if you look at the archetypes, these are two different, some people say spirits, beings, entities, forces, the demons, whatever you want to call it, two different things, but there's definitely a superstition behind it. Now, my problem with modern day Satanism is kind of encompassing. I could split this in a bazillion ways, but I'll do my best to explain myself as thoroughly as I can. I like the aesthetics of Satanism. That's just me. You see that a lot in heavy metal. You see that a lot in any like type of culture, like that's counterculture, really. That's not of the norm, right? So when you get into world of metal, that's like my norm, you could say, for lack of a better term. So I'm used to it. I'm used to the black. I'm used to, the things that look very ultra scary. Ooh, not as if you haven't seen it in the last few decades, which I think is a little bit odd that people who are freaking out over, pop culture today, like Sam Smith and the Montero thing, Doja Cat as of recently, people are freaking out like, oh my God, Satanism is upon us. When, again, like, heavy metal was a thing, and I don't see these conservatives are going out trying to ban Iron Maiden. It was stupid then, it's stupid now. But, well, they're geriatrics. It doesn't matter. They are not relevant anymore. Yeah, but guys, number of the beast, 666. You don't want the youth listening to that. Next up, you're going to have the next onslaught of PMRC losers. And what generation? Possibly the millennials. So, like, I could picture the Daily Wire kind of going down that route. But anyways, I'm going back in time a little too far. I mean, I'm not that old. I was only a kid in the 90s. Anyway, so modern day Satanism. I like the aesthetics. I mean, it's on the surface, it's a superficial thing, but I think for me where my problem lies is a bit of the optics of outsiders and also on the inside. Whether you look at the Church of Satan or even the Satanic Temple or even the Joy of Satan or whatever the fuck. There's a problem on both sides that I have with this because it just is hard to put these two together because I'm not necessarily of that vein, so I don't think I really truly understand it. I don't consider myself to be a Satanist. I don't follow the Satanist philosophy. I get the appeal of it. Even when I was an atheist, I thought it was pretty funny that Satanists were trolling the evangelical Christians at the time, and the Satanic Temple, as of this year, has been around for the last 10 years. So they recently had their big satanic convention out in Massachusetts, I believe. Anyways, so the problem that I have with modern day Satanism is a lot of these organizations don't own the monopoly on Satanism. You're going to talk to a lot of people. You're going to get a lot of perspectives, a lot of different answers. So my issue with today's idea of Satanism is the conflating of the politics on both sides within and outside of the organization. I'll tell you why. Because it's more of a nuanced stance a lot of people are not necessarily understanding. People think left-hand path basically means the left of politics. Now, as we all know, that dichotomy is fucking bullshit. These are made up. This is bullshit. My understanding of the whole left and right paradigm, this idea that, not that it's a start, but at one point during the French Revolution, if you were considered on the right, these were supporters of the monarchy that sought to preserve many of the king's power. If you sat on the left side, these are the people who wish to reduce the king's power. So, of course, these things definitely change at a over time to what we have today. But right-hand path and left-hand path spirituality in the West is it's a fucking bitch to define, but it's very well emphasized and a little bit more understood out in the East. You definitely have two types of paths that you'll find across the fucking board in any spiritual tradition. Some people will even say there's like a middle path, which I'm able to see, but that's not really my gig. You see, the difference between the right and left-hand path is in the esoteric. The right-hand path, and this goes across the board, it's not just like with the Abrahamic faiths, even though it is pretty emphasized, you're getting back to that source of power. You're getting back to that. And a lot of people will be more collectivistic about it. Now, on the left-hand path, it goes against the, what's the word? It's a heterodox. It goes against the orthodoxy. It's an inversion. It's not necessarily a bad inversion. You see, that inversion is looking within oneself, embracing and getting to the source of your divinity as an individual versus going against the collective. You're going against the natural flow of things. So that's like the darker side of the natural flow. So through that, there's going to be taboos along with it. Now let's keep something in mind here. This is my own definition. It's always going to differ, right? On the general consensus, a lot of people will put in their own spin on it. Like I said, if you were to ask, like I've used this example in the past, you ask 10 Wiccans, what is Wicca, whatever the fuck, or paganism, you're going to get that 10 different answers. So this is just my own. I'm not speaking on behalf of everybody or the consensus, but this is just broadly speaking what it is that I've come to define it as, although it's a little bit more nuanced than that. Especially out here in the West, we're very structured. We like to categorize things. But once you practice the occult and utilizing this stuff for your own spiritual enlightenment or development or whatever the fuck, you'll realize a lot of these terms are just semantics and it really doesn't matter. So you have a bit of that broad definition, and the way that politics don't work with this is, again, let's think of the nuance. You're going to have some people on the right-hand path that are not dogmatic about things. Doesn't mean that they're left-hand path. No, you probably just might meet somebody who's on the left-hand path that you will find an overlap of commonality. So, I mean, it's your own path. You get to do what you want with it. It's your path alone. It's not meant to be easy. It's not meant to be linear. It's whatever the fuck. People are out trying to seek fulfillment and purpose and meaning. Nothing wrong with that. But when it comes to leftist politics, whenever I see this shit happening on, the inside of these organizations, or even outside of it, the optics of it don't look very good. Because on the inside, it's hard to do. It's hard to be a hefty lefty and be somebody who's claiming to be their own god. Whether you're theistic about it or atheistic, it doesn't fucking matter. The problem with this is leftism today is a very collectivistic mindset. So if an individual steps out of line, out of the mob is going to chase them out. So is it possible to still be a hefty lefty while still being on the left-hand path? I would say it is, but if you're going to be going down a purity spiral, it's going to be really fucking hard to do so. So that's why I have a bit of an issue with today's modern Satanism, because of these two conflated things. That it just doesn't work. It's really fucking complicated when you go down that route. Now, on the outside, you see this. An example would be what happened at this year at SatanCon. Ben Shapiro was talking about it. And of course, you have people that are talking about bodily autonomy, talking about, being yourself and not being constricted to the bullshit of society and rebelling, all that stuff. And then, of course, you bring up the trans movement and being gay and the Motley Crues and whatever the fuck. Now, they're not necessarily synonymous with one another, but if you understand the left-hand path, you will understand that you're responsible for yourself and yourself alone. You're not here to be... You'll get some people being edgelords and people that are fucked up. I mean, that is definitely a possibility, but you also have that on the other side as well. So you're responsible for yourself. You imposing your will out on other people is a bit of a problem. So that's the real situation. And so when you have this sort of thing, and then you have a guy like Ben Shapiro talking about, you see, today's leftism is left-hand path Satanism, when that's too broad of a brush. So my problem with this whole thing is the lack of nuance within it. So I figured, let me just give a little bit of a different perspective on things, because we're lacking that nuance. So I think I'll just end it there. I could expand, but it's getting a little bit long, this video. So hopefully you guys learned a little something. Peace out.